Okay, so I have some opinions today about the way the police are acting these days. First of all, America is out of control in general, and we're supposed to be the freedom state, the state that everybody wants to live in. But it seems like we're just becoming a third world country, honestly. I mean, everything is just out of control, and what are we doing about it? Now, as far as the police go, I recently heard that a police officer threw a student or tried to snatch a student out of her desk. As a police officer or a father, would you expect one of your work buddies to go and pull your child out of their desk? That's my question for you. I mean, seriously. Would you want anybody treating your child the way you treated her? People, we all need to come together in this world, or it's going to end, and it's not going to be pretty. And the police aren't helping. I believe that every police station, every city, every state should evaluate their police officers using psychological researches. It needs to be done because apparently some of these police officers have issues because they're not doing their jobs. There's a difference between protect and serve and being brutal. And every police officer that I've heard of that has actually done wrong and is guilty has resigned. That shows you that they're not in their place to protect us and help save us from being killed and being attacked by odd people who've lost their mind, whatever. They're being the ones losing their minds and acting crazy. And it makes no sense. When you put on that badge, you're supposed to be a people person. You're supposed to know what you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to act and the type of role model you're supposed to be. Kids nowadays aren't going to want to become police officers because you're acting so wild. This is ridiculous. And I don't think we should judge them, but I think something needs to be done about this. So I believe that every police officer needs to be evaluated. Whether they're new, whether they're a captain, the whole station, even the boss of the station, the chief, whatever, the marshals, all of them, even the highway patrol, they all need to be evaluated for psychological reasons because they're not in their right minds when they act out. Now, I don't believe in provoking police officers or threatening them or anything like that, but exercising your freedom of speech and your right to talk, that is fine. But yelling and cursing sometimes can get out of hand. I don't believe that police officers need to be provoked to prove a point. And I know some people have, and it's pathetic. If you want to take that risk, yeah, you're probably going to get attacked by one. Then you're going to make the world think that they're wrong. You're wrong. People, you need to stop and think about what you're doing. But as far as the police officers go, if you're a father, or if you know friends with kids, why would you attack students? If the students don't have a weapon, if the students aren't fighting, there's no way you're supposed to put your hands on them. And they can't be arrested for sitting in a desk. It is pathetic. I heard she was on her cell phone. This is why I don't think kids need cell phones. I didn't have a cell phone. I didn't want a cell phone. I grew up in a time where there weren't cell phones. And then when they got cell phones, I still didn't have one. I had one in high school, but guess what? I wasn't on my phone in school. So parents, if your kids are going to have cell phones, they need to have rules and regulations. They need to follow them. If they don't deserve it. All of this leads up to the same thing. Parents, cops, city workers, whatever you are. If you're an adult, you need to know how. We're all losing sight of life. People take for granted life. They take the world for granted, and we're all going to end up paying for it because of those people who take everything for granted. America has taken the world for granted. And I believe that the option for prayer should be back in school. There should be an option for 15 minutes out of the day for kids to choose to pray or not. Not all of them have to do it, but they should be allowed the 15 minutes in their life to say a prayer or to have prayer moments. There should be an option for it, because there's so many different religions. We can't just put a prayer in school. But I believe they should be given the option to pray, especially if they are kids in church. They'll know to sit down and have a moment of prayer. But that should be an option. America has turned their back on God. And we're going to end up being given over to China or Japan one day because of it. Because our government, if the world would preach more about God, maybe things would be a little better. But I don't ever hear the government speak of God and God's way. God's way is not going out there and acting a fool to provoke a police officer so that he will attack you, so that the world will see that they're evil. There are some that are actually evil, and there are some that are actually good, decent people, but you're making them look bad on purpose. And then the black community isn't acting any better. The women who went up there and ambushed that guy's campaign for presidency, that is pathetic. We aren't supposed to do that. That's making us go back in time and look like we're just the crazy race with no common sense. We are smart. We are a minority and we are smart. Why can't we just present ourselves as better people? Why are we presenting ourselves as low-life, crazed people who go out and act a fool? That's not what we're supposed to do. Our ancestors are probably turning over in their graves because of the way some of y'all have been acting. We're supposed to stand together as one, not act a fool as separates. That is ridiculous. And as black as I may look, I am a mixed race person. I am mixed with black, white, Mexican, Indian, and God knows what else. So, as being, technically, I'm a part of each race, basically, the main ones that started the world. And I can say that each one has their faults. I can place myself in each section if I want to. But I will stand by the fact that each race has their issues. Each race reacts differently to certain things in life. And I believe that right now, black people have not, well, African American, whatever, we haven't been acting right. We cannot lose the way of God, or we're all going to pay for it. Now, I'm not perfect. I've sinned. I've done stupid things in life. I don't always go to church, but I do understand that God's way is going to save us in the end. And I don't want to go up for judgment and find out that there's a 666 on my forehead, imprinted on my forehead or my hand. I want God to let me into his gates. Because I want to go up there with my granny, with my grandmother. I don't want to go burn in hell. Now, there's people out there who are atheists, don't believe in God, but honestly, there is a God, and there's only one God, no matter how you praise him, from whichever religion. But for those who don't praise him, I feel sorry for you, because you're missing out on a wonderful opportunity. And that's what's wrong with the world. We haven't been preaching about God enough. People, please, even if you don't go to church, read the Bible or just sit and think. I sit and think every day, and I'm starting to understand so much more. And I don't even look at the news. I don't read about it in books. I just think, and it comes to me, and it flows into my brain, and I understand what's going on, because I am one with God. And I promise you, it is a real sensation to actually sit and be able to understand everything that's going on and why it's going on when nobody's even told you. So just please think about it. Everyone, just stop and think. Even those that are still racist. For those that are still racist, you should understand there's no need to be racist, because the world will never go back to being segregated and all this other crap that y'all believe should happen. It's not going to happen. God doesn't want that. God wanted people to get along, but since they couldn't get along, he divided it into 7 continents. And even then, it's still an issue, because it got worse because of the wars. And we shouldn't have to go to war. We shouldn't have war issues. But we do, and that's really not, it's not good. And I don't want to die from a bomb just because our government has an issue with another country. It's pathetic. And if there is one real, true, godly person out there that's going to run for president, I want that person in office. That person who believes in God's way, who won't crush us into the ground and end up giving us over to a heathen country. I don't want that. I don't want to see that. So I pray all the time in my head. I pray that that never happens. Because if it does, that's the end of the United States, basically. There is no more freedom, as freedom is supposed to be. So people, please, be one with God. And to the government, please think about God's way.